Frankenstein, they're not giving up. They're moving forward. I mean, I see them pulling false flags. I see them doing economic scams. But they're also afraid to do big false flags now because they know we're aware of the tricks. So I want to talk about that political landscape as well.
Sure. The American political landscape, thanks to you and others, quite frankly, what we will call the conspiracy or the alternative media, has really become the mainstay. We took that name, and I thank Alex and others who were involved, and became the mainstay because what in fact happened is we devolved the power all the way from the White House down to the regional governors and then the commissions. And as a result of the Tea Party movement, which did have an impetus effect and eventually had lost its usage, it basically stimulated a lot of the grassroots initiatives and the basic underlying Americanism within our people. That is, we understood that we were being hoodwinked. We understood what we were being lied to. We understood that Obama didn't belong there. We understood that Bush lied to us. We understood that Clinton was immoral. So what happens in return, our reactions come out thanks to people like you who can articulate those feelings and basically state the positions. We said no more. We don't want this. We don't want the Bushes. We don't want the Clinton. And as Barbara Bush said, no more Bushes in the White House. She's correct. And I would add no more Clintons in the White House. So we are beginning to evolve into a new political entity which has greater control at the grassroots level where the corporations are not that effective. That's why they have gone overseas. But what happened when they went overseas is they forgot that the American worker is the most efficient, fast, entrepreneurial worker in the world. When he went to China, the corporations, they came back with very poor products. When they went to India, they came back with medicines that were highly diluted by other products. So the American corporation suddenly said, wait a minute, Europe is going into devaluation and deflation. China's heading into deflation and a problem with their environment. We're coming back to the United States. So what's happened is the corporations are economic cowards. What do I mean? Companies like Pfizer take what's called an inversion technique. They basically buy out a company like AstraZeneca, which is not a very effective pharmaceutical company, because of the tax advantages. And without leaving their own base, they go from a 35% tax rate down to a 15% tax rate, even though they've done nothing more than shift paperwork in New York. That has to change. The American public is basically subsidizing big corporation and big pharma, which doesn't deserve it. Despite what they say to you and they say to me as a physician, they have not developed all these medications on the basis of FDA research and on the basis of the NIH. They developed it on the basis of having side effects and their own greed. So what I'm saying, the American public is a very effective instrument for brooking these big industries, for being able to stop them, for saying, okay, that's enough. We may not always agree with Obama, yet nevertheless, the economic warfare is effective against the Soviet Union and against Russia, and Putin is crying out. He needs help. The Chinese need help now because we're going to fast-track that trade, and that means a lot more for the political power base in the United States. We are now the only people that have had increase in our growth development. We've had a decrease in unemployment, and really in relation to Europe and China and the world, we're doing much better. Even though there's the ISIS and Ebola, we're able to transport beyond that
Sure.
and get back into our work.
What about...
That's where the beauty... Go ahead. I'm sorry, Al.
Well, we're just going to break here.
Okay.
We're going to break. When we come back, I want you to finish up, and we're going to do some phone calls. We're also going to talk about your medical company, which we never talked about. But before we go there, I want to specifically, though, get into what I call this fascist leftist ideology. I don't even call it socialist, where they get off on trying to destroy the family, messing with men, messing with women. The attempt to screw up families and to screw up the society. This is what you do to a foreign enemy, and I would call that an immoral tactic. Why are they using those type of psyops to degenerate society here? Why is the political class doing that? We'll talk to... I want to talk to Dr. Pieczenik about the question I was throwing at him back as we went to break, and then I forgot. What was the question? It was an important question, and I wanted him to think about it, and I want to see if he remembers what the question was. It'll pop in my head in a second. This is teleprompter free, folks. So, I mean, you're really getting what I think here. So sometimes I forget what I was talking about earlier. But we'll see if Dr. Pieczenik remembers the question I was asking him. And I'm also a little bit selfish, too. I know he's got 2 products that are world-renowned and are bestsellers around the planet. He's into nutraceuticals as well as a medical doctor and psychiatrist. And so I want to pick his brain about that as well, because he just, didn't just produce movies and write a bunch of books with Tom Clancy and, run the State Department PSYOPs and do the Camp David Accords and all the amazing things he's done. Much of it classified, so we can't talk about it. He also has a very successful nutraceutical company. And that's what we have at InfoWarsLife.com is the most cutting-edge, documented products. And Pieczenik said something so interesting during the break. He said, well, Alex, I said, well, why are you so successful? He goes, really, no marketing, nothing. He goes, it's word of mouth. We started out selling almost none of it, and it just slowly grew over the years. He was telling me what they sell a day. It's incredible. And that's word of mouth. See, we're the same thing here. A lot of nutraceutical companies just put out the basic thing they can, or they put out crud, or they put out synthetic stuff because they want to use marketing to do it. No, we don't use marketing. We use, hey, this is really high quality, just try it. And then people get results at InfoWarsLife.com with the great products that are there, whether it's the Oxy Powder or Survival Shield or DNA Force, or whether it's the Lung Cleanse, or whether it's the Fluoride Shield, Chelating Detoxifier, or Colloidal Silver, the 300 parts per million, Nano Silver. Just all of it is stuff that's been known to have really good effects across the board, and that we can also then get the very best of and bring you at competitive prices at InfoWarsLife.com. You can also call toll-free 888-253-3139. But Dr. Pieczenik, tell me about your line of nutraceutical supplements, because, I know that it's very, very popular. People have gotten great results with it, and I'm interested. Maybe you can work with us and help us formulate something, Dr. Pieczenik.
Well, it's a pleasure. Let me first state that, Alex, the question you asked me was about the nature of the left wing distorting the values of the American family.
Oh, yeah. Why do they come out and brag? Yes, Obamacare is meant to bankrupt you.
The reason is very simple. The reason is we're basically a Christian country. What happens in a Christian country is not that everyone is Christian in religion. They can be atheists. But what the statement of Christianity is about is the statement of certain values that hold true to the very roots of what our country was based on, which is the family is a central value of the organization, the community. The community is a central element of the state and the county, and the states are a central element of the republic. So when you have these values, you learn what is appropriate, what is not appropriate. Certain things break the norm. When you have gay marriage or you have different types of relationships, that may be within the Christian shield. That's up to the theologians to decide that. But the basic point that there may be a war of values, of class structures, that's inherent to the republic. We have always had internal wars between one ideology and another ideology. I have always had faith that the American public will reaffirm its basic beliefs and that we're a Judeo-Christian country which rises on values of both religion, and that doesn't mean that you can't be an atheist. You can be, as long as you understand the precepts and the conduct of behavior that those religions mandate. In other words, treat others as you would treat yourself.
The golden rule. Well, that's what I'm getting at is it's very Soviet style, but also fascist, the way they persecute people and want to arrest preachers that, read out of the Bible in Houston. They want to subpoena them and want to make you talk away and adopt their language. That's not liberal. Thomas Jefferson was a liberal. These people are just sickening, autocratic control freaks engaged in what I'd call bullying attempts at cultural overrights.
Well, the point here is where there is always strife, there's always opportunity for America. This is where we have the opportunity to fight back, be it on the right or the left. If somebody tries to suppress a minister who wants to read from the Bible or whatever time, then he has the right to assert his right and to fight for that right. Within the doctrines of the American Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, those are the mandates that are given to us. That's why the federal government is becoming weaker and weaker, and what's happening is now judges and judicial courts are beginning to make mandates that have no relevance to everyday living. whether Robert says that the country, that a company is a person, is absolutely ridiculous and probably will be changed. But in turn, that has affected the way we have voted, and that's affected the way the candidates have come forth. But my faith in the American public is that it really will revolve around things that are anti-fascist, anti-suppression, anti-repression, simply because that's the way we grew up. The problem for the most of the world is that they cannot mirror the notion of the individuality of the American people. Be it you're black, white, green, yellow, or red. That's why people want to come to this country. It will always remain that way. We will always struggle within.
Sure. Why would our elites and the Republicans working with them try to fundamentally dumb people down and screw the country up? That is such a premeditated vandalism of the culture. It repudiates the people running things and shows that they're the lowest form of scum.
Well, if you have nothing else to do, you run for Congress and a senator. Most people that I've treated who are professional politicians really have never started their own business, have never had day-to-day concerns like you and I, where we have to meet a payroll, we have to meet financial obligations. Most of them are very entitled, very lazy, and very scared to go out into the real world to find work and to put themselves up against the reality of uncertainty. And that's really what we've had in leaders, whether it's Clinton, Bush Jr., or Obama. Not one of them has had a job other than being a professional politician, which by definition means you've never had a job. So what we have to look for now is somebody who's really been in the executive branch or the management branch of any company or state.
Yeah, why is it always lawyers? Why don't we have, like, corporate people or business people or medical doctors or something like? Instead, it's always lawyers who just believe they can argue any side of anything, and so there's nothing there. There's no core value, and so they're threatened by anybody who has values of any type. They just want us to be these programmable bots.
Well, the lawyers are basically creating their own game. You play within the law, you play within a kabuki that's corrupt and distorted. If you play in medicine, it's an open-ended game that has its own rules. But now you got Rand Paul, you have a lot of doctors now in Congress, you're going to have CPAs at the local level here, at the commissioner level, and we need more managers who literally had jobs. And now we have the head of the VA who's come out of Procter & Gamble. We're going to have businessmen running forth. I mean, Romney was an example of a businessman. John Huntsman was an example of a businessman. America turned them down for a man who had no history and no practical application. So the question becomes, are we going to repeat this again? Are we going to vote in somebody who's singular because of their color or their gender? Or are we going to bring in somebody who understands finances, management, and implementation? That's the decision America has.
Now, because you've come on over the years, for 14 years or 13 years and never plugged anything, I mean, I do find your company interesting. Tell us the name of it. We'll put the website up on screen. Tell us about your nutrition.
When I was in Montana 7-8 years ago, I developed a company with a brilliant naturopath named John Newstead, and we developed two key products. One was MK4 or Osteo-K, which was used for osteoporosis. We didn't initiate that product. We took it in from Japan, where it's been used for 30 years for the treatment of osteoporosis and the prevention of fractures. We don't worry about the bone density as much as we worry about decreasing fractures, and we found that we can decrease fractures significantly. At the same time, we've gotten initial approval by the FDA for the treatment of acute myelocytic leukemia and myelodysplastic syndrome,
wow,
which are very important issues. And people all over the world have now been buying this up in the hundreds and thousands. And as I said to Alex, I really don't watch the company because it works by itself. It's word of mouth. And the other product is Mitofor, which is an amazing mitochondrial action and it improves the memory. And the last product we have is the multiple vitamins, which is a requirement of 4 vitamins minimum per day, which was formulated by Dr. John Newstead. And when you deal with NBI Health, you will be dealing with my partner, John Newstead, who's a brilliant pharmacist and a brilliant botanist. And this company has been very successful because of word of mouth and because the products do work. And we don't claim that we discovered the initial product. We claim that we formulated and made it pure and potent, which means that it's very rare in America to have products which are literally not diluted with other brands and other lower quality products. We guarantee the highest quality, made